All right. Welcome. Come on in, say hello in the chat. Let us know if you know anything about Overwatch. Feel free to introduce yourself. And I think we will get started. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be going over Overwatch, one of our Youth League titles. Youth League is a different product than our high school titles. So now it's a little bit separated. It is open to 13 through 18-year-olds. It can be coach or player led. So just get that out there before we get started. I'm Melanie. I am the community coordinator for PlayVS. I am joined here with Erin Kelly, one of our community leads, along with super coach Matt James. Matt James is an IB history and theory of knowledge teacher at Eastern Senior High School in Washington, D.C. Matt was a criminal lawyer before returning to the classroom to teach in D.C. Matt began a gaming club at Eastern in 2017, which later became the Esports Club in 2019. Currently, the club has Rocket League, League of Legends, and Madden teams. Mr. James is a Masters rank Overwatch player, and this spring will coach his first Overwatch team. So thank you so much, Matt, for coming and joining. I'm just going to give the reins to you and let you get going.
Okay, well, we're going to cover a lot of stuff tonight, and Melanie's going to walk us through a little bit later, kind of the fundamentals of how to sign up. My job is to kind of walk you through what Overwatch is and just some of the very basics, and also know that we're coming out. I have a video that will be released by PlayVS here shortly. So if you're wanting to go a little more in depth or need some visualizations of some of these concepts, there is a video that will help explain some of these things. So at its core, Overwatch is an objective-based game. I know that a lot of your students probably play like Call of Duty or other things that success is kills and deaths and things like that. Overwatch really is a team-based game based on objectives and based on map types. So we'll cover the different map types, but you win by securing or completing objectives. It is a 6-on-6 combat game, meaning like each team is comprised of 6 players. And we'll talk about the format. It's what we call 2-2-2. When we get into heroes, you'll learn like how teams, like the composition of teams and things like that. So the maps that we'll be playing on for the regular season will be basically best of 3. And the first game you'll play, it will be on a control map. The second game will be on an assault map. And the third will be on an escort map. And each of those have like different objectives. So let's go over the maps, and then we'll go over some of the heroes and take some questions. Also, there is a chat that's open that Erin and Melanie are kind of looking at. So feel free if I cover something or mention something you'd like to go a little more in depth on, we can definitely do that. So the first is a control map. Control maps are basically like each one of these maps that you see on the screen has 3 parts to it. So you notice that it says team fights to hold a single objective. First team to win 2 rounds. It's like 2 of 3 to win the entire map. So like Ilios, for example, if you look on kind of the center part of your screen, Ilios has Lighthouse, Well, and Ruins, which are actually each different maps within that map. And so in order to win the entire control map, you have to win 2 of the 3 like segments of the map, if that makes sense. Once you see it played out, this will make perfect sense. Ilios is also one of my favorite maps. The way that each of the parts of each of these maps is symmetrical, so that when you like load out from spawn or the start of the game, you'll be equidistant along with the other team from what we call the control point. Control point opens up 30 seconds into the match, and then you are basically fighting the other team to try to gain control of the point in the middle of the map. First team to 100%, and you get about 1% every second, wins. So that's basically control maps. There will not be any ties or draws in control maps. So we'll go on to game or map type 2. Map type 2 is assault map. It's also called 2CP for control points. So 2CP is very like simple in design. There's a point you need to capture, point A, and then as soon as you capture point A, you go to point B. There is an attacking team and a defensive team, so you get a chance to play offense and defense, basically. You'll notice there's big red X's over Horizon Lunar Colony in Paris. Although those are assault maps, when they were rolled out by Blizzard, they were kind of unbalanced. And so PlayVS has made the intelligent decision not to use those maps to make your students play those, because they're not going to have as good an experience. The numbers and data show that people, like, it's either too strong on offense or too strong on defense, and you really want a map to be very well balanced so that the outcome isn't determined by like poor map design, basically. But Hanamura, Anubis, and Volskaya are like iconic Overwatch maps, and the way you win that is by trying to capture one point and then try to capture point B. In the event that both teams capture both points, you'll have like a time bank, and then you'll get to try to do it again. So there is like overtime periods, and you can draw this, meaning like you could take it both times, and then in overtime, both teams could capture neither point, in which case it would be a draw. All right, we'll go on to game type 3. Escort map. Some of my favorites and some really great maps on Escort. Escort is a lot of fun. The strategy is really dynamic. So on here, I'm trying to see if they actually show the cart. You can kind of see it on Havana. In every one of the Escort maps, there's what we call a payload, or the cart. The objective is to get the cart as far as you can into the map. The cart, almost like a ride at Disney or something, like follows this path. And as long as the cart isn't being contested by the other team, meaning there's not another enemy team member in close proximity to the cart, it will move forward. So it's the defense's job, the defensive team, to kind of like obstruct the cart, to stand in its way. So while you're playing the game, trying to get kills and heal each other and everything else, you're basically trying to prevent or move the cart. And that's it. The team that moves it furthest wins. If the offensive team gets it all the way to the end, and then the defensive team rotates the offense and they get it all the way to the end, then whoever did it faster, then they'll have a time bank, and you'll get to try to move it in overtime as far as you can. There are no draws in Escort maps because it's just based on like the measurement of literally how far you get the cart and to which checkpoints. So those are the three the three map types. If you're watching this and you played some Overwatch and you're like, wait a minute, what about hybrid? They don't play hybrid in the regular season right now, but in the playoffs, when it expands to 5 rounds, they will play a round of hybrid in there, which has iconic maps like King's Row. Again, I'm getting into the weeds, but if you've played Overwatch, you're probably like, where's King's Row? It's amazing. King's Row is in there for the playoffs with hybrid, and then they'll play another round of one of the other types. Okay, let's get into heroes. When I talked about 2-2-2, each team has to have 2 tanks, 2 damage, and 2 support. There was a time in Overwatch where it was just open and you could play all sorts of crazy compositions, and the game shifted. And so now there's 2-2-2 role lock, which actually makes it easier for you as a coach and as a player, so that there's not this just unlimited variety of combinations. The meta is a little more defined, but you'll have on your team 2 tanks, 2 damage, 2 support. Now, what do each of these roles do? Tanks, in like other MOBA games, you do want tanks to be like drawing aggro or like, getting the attention of the other team. But really, you should think about tanks in Overwatch as creating space. Overwatch is all about securing objectives and the ability to control the map and put your players in a good position. Tanks are the ones that create that space for you. They use shields and large health pools in order to make the map more accessible, so that your damage dealers can get into good positions, so that your healers can stand where they need to heal and be out of harm's way, but able to still use their abilities. And so your tanks do that. And they do it in a variety of different ways. Some, again, just have giant shields. Some of them are really fast and can go to the other side of the map to get everybody to look at them over there. That's the fun part about Overwatch, is learning how each of these heroes does their job in a different way. So there's some really fun variety in the tanks, but that's your tank's job. Your damage, which in my experience, every high school age person thinks they're a damage player. So if you're going to have if you're going to have students competing for a spot, they all think they're DPS players. So buckle up for that. But your damage players, exactly. These are mid players, right? Mid players or junglers. It depends on who. Yeah, but yes. Yeah, everyone thinks they're a damage player, a damage hero, and damage is supposed to secure kills and do damage, basically. In terms of calming, like in terms of who's talking, your damage should actually be talking the least, because in terms of coordinating stuff, you should really be hearing from your tanks and healers, and we'll talk about like effective comms. There's nothing more annoying than hearing a damage character just like talking up and kind of muting everybody out. And then finally, you have your support characters. They're not just healers. So people often call them healers, but really they each support character can heal, and through a variety of different ways. Some are heal over time, some are burst healing, but they all bring something else to the table. So Lucio, for instance, like speeds you around the map. Zenyatta adds a damage orb that makes the team's damage do more effective on the character that has the damage orb, but does less healing. So there's trade-offs for every healer, and so you just have to figure out in your team's composition what they do well and how to put them in good positions to win. Abilities. Each character has different abilities. Some have only like 2 in their kit. Some, like Sigma, have lots of abilities, and so it's really hard. Like that's what makes a character hard to learn. I mean, it's the same as League of Legends. There are some characters that have kind of simple abilities to execute, and others that actually have really large, kind of complex kits. But your abilities all have a cooldown. And so after you use an ability, there's a little timer that will go down, and then the ability will refresh. There's no like running out of ammo in Overwatch. There's no running out of the ability. It's always on a timer. And so it just expires and then reloads. In terms of ultimates, an ultimate is the character's ultimate ability. Overwatch is an objective based game, and it's also can be said that it's a game of ultimates, because it's about a team's ability to manage their one ability and how they can use those ultimates together. Because really, your teams may be very even in terms of skill, and then it's who manages their ultimate currency the best and who can synergize and use their ultimates at the right time. And the ultimates do wildly different things. Widowmaker's ultimate doesn't actually do any damage, but just allows you to see the entire map and see where everybody is in for sight. Soldier 76 has an ultimate that just has like automatic tracking. They all do something. And so knowing how to use your ultimate and when to use it is a big, big, big part of the game. One of the things you'll see early with teams that are just learning is they may inadvertently all use their ultimates at the same time, or they may all think that their teammates are going to use ultimates and then none of them do. And so that's a challenge of learning when and how to communicate and use those ultimate abilities that are earned, because you're not going to get a ton of them throughout a game. You're going to get some, and it's learning how to use them the right way. So that's heroes. Okay, in terms of player accounts, and we're kind of getting into some of the coaching now. Once you have your players, make sure you have their battle tag, so that you can use like overwatch.opgg, or so that you can just look them up on Blizzard. Like you can actually look them up from Overwatch if you yourself have an Overwatch account and their accounts are open, which is something else. In order to see their stats, you need to make sure that their accounts are set to either open or are open to people on your friends list. And then you need to be friends with them. That's the way that I have it set up. Some of your players might say like, I don't want my account open. I don't want just like anybody to be able to look at my stats when I'm playing competitive or on ladder. But if you want to be able to help them with coaching and see their stats, that's one thing you can do, is you can make sure that their profile is open. And there are a lot of stats that are very, there's like an overwhelming amount of stats. It looks like reading a stock ticker sometimes. It's like, what do I do with all these numbers? So I'm going to give you some that are helpful that I look at on a scrim team or that I look at with my players. So in terms of damage, And this isn't the most telling statistic, but it's just like a helpful is you always want to look at damage per 10, and that just means like 10 minutes. You don't ever want to look at their damage peak, most damage in a game. Anyone can have a good game. You want to look at their average damage per 10 minutes, and that can tell you something. If they're a Junkrat or Reaper main, or they play a character that does a lot of high damage, you should expect to see 12, 13, 14,000 damage per 10. If they play a lot of high damage characters and they have like 8,000 damage per 10, you have an issue. So I use kind of like the 10K per 10 as a barometer for like, this is our starting point. It also gives your students something to measure. So if you have a player, then you can say, look, you need to improve your damage per 10. Here's where it's at. Let's check back next week, or let's see in this competitive season if it improves. Because right now that number is pretty low. Does that number always say everything? No. They could be playing characters like Sombra or Mei that don't actually do a ton of damage, but support the team in a different way. But it can be helpful data. The healing, the support metrics are actually really helpful. So with your support, you want to look at healing per 10 and deaths per 10. Not kills per 10, but how much they are dying. You don't want your support to die. If your supports die, that's like the first domino that falls. You lose team fights statistically when your healers die. So you want your support players to die as infrequently as possible. Your support players should be what we call peeling for each other, like co-healing to make sure that they both stay alive if possible. So what you can do is look at their deaths per 10. I recently had a student that was trying to learn Ana, and he swears he's doing everything right. We looked at his stats, and he had something like 16 deaths per 10 minutes. And I was like, this is, no. This is way, way, way too much. We got to get this number back down to like 5. You're dying almost 3 times too many per 10 minutes. Same thing with healing per 10. There are some healers that are also capable of doing damage, like Moira and Batiste. So some people are like, I'm doing so great, I'm doing great. And then you go look at their healing per 10, and it turns out they're playing support and they're not healing. So make sure that their heal rate is up high enough that they're doing their main job and not just playing backline Moira trying to do damage. Sometimes people, get really big eyes in the game. They're like, oh, I forgot I'm a healer. I should probably be, healing the team. And lastly, you can look at their win rate in competitive. If you're going to have some players that swear they are the best, whatever player, best tracer, best widow, you can look at their win rate in competitive. So I had a student the other day who swears like, I'm the best widow maker. Okay, well, your win rate's 27% in comp. So if you're the such a good widow maker, why can't you win with her? Like what's going on there? And so you can support your players by showing them the harsh reality of data sometimes by just looking at, look, you're not winning on this character. Let's think about why, or, what's happening, and really break down their gameplay. So in terms of player accounts, those are some data points to kind of get you started. Okay. Now for coaching Overwatch, I'm using my experience from being on scrim teams. I've never actually coached much of a team myself. And so I'm excited to do this, but I'm going to relay what we do on scrim teams and when I was climbing and trying to get better with different groups. The biggest thing is just being able to play together. So get your 6 stack together and have them play in quick play, competitive, use play versus to organize scrims. It's like any other game. It's like a basketball team or anything else. There's a rhythm to the game. They need to learn each other, how everybody moves, what everybody's good at, what their character selections are. And so the more you play and get some footage, that's the most important thing. They just need time to play together. And then if you can get organized and get started playing, there's different team comps and strategies you can use. I'm not going to go way into dive, rush, and poke. If Play Versus wants me to like give a more in-depth thing, I can show a video, or I can log in and we can just play some or do something like that. But these are each like very distinct play styles where you pick like different tank lineups, different everything lineups. And whether you're trying to like dive healers or use Lucio and rush past the shields, or stay at a distance with Sigma and poke down the shields and then move in, they're all different play styles, but you need time to practice each one. And you need to kind of understand what each one represents and what the goals are, and say that out loud before your scrims and say, okay, here's how we're going to practice this. If it's dive, we have to get to the healers first. And so, like, that's what you preach, you try it. If it fails miserably, you go, what did we do wrong? And then you just keep repeating it. But that takes time. It's not going to happen on the first one. Running coordinated dive is like, it's hard. So it's just going to take time. But having a strategy is in terms of coaching, putting them in a position where they're going to play 6 players and then trying one strategy is what they need. They're just going to need time to try them. And then watching other teams online, watching other streamers that play that style, or teams in Overwatch League that play that style, and trying your best to emulate it. In terms of like discrete skills to practice when you're between matches and in teams, ultimate tracking is a big one that is not super intuitive. It takes a lot of time. Ultimate tracking is like deciding certain players or one player is going to keep track of the ultimates that the enemy team has. Often it's easy for a player of the same role to keep track. Like if I'm playing Reinhardt or main tank, I've got a pretty good idea when the enemy Reinhardt or the enemy main tank is going to have their ult, because it's going to be close to what I'm at. I may know I'm a little ahead or a little behind, but it's easy for me to keep track in my same role. If you have a player that's really good at it, then put all that burden on them and say, look, you're going to be in charge of mentally keeping track of all 6 ults and where we're at, which goes to the pre-planning of team fights. This is a really challenging skill and will take a lot of time, but it's learning how to anticipate what's going to happen. We're about to go into a team fight. What ultimates do they have? They've got Shatter, they've got Sigmal, they've got Beat. They're probably going to beat in. They're going to use their Lucio ultimate to come into the fight. Then the Ryan's going to come and flank and Shatter. So we need to be here to anticipate that. Being able to do just that process and being able to do it accurately takes a lot of time. And so you have to practice with your team just coming up with a plan, period. Because what most high school teams, do is they're in the game, their eyes are big, there's no plan. We get in there and we fight and we lose and we point fingers at each other. We go, man, that was tough. Instead, even if it's a bad plan and you're wrong, practicing trying to anticipate what's going to happen and coming up with a plan, trying to script fights. Okay, here's our plan. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to use our ultimates first. Boom, boom, boom. This is the sequence of events. Again, it's hard, but that's the strategy that you need to preach to your kids. Have a plan. Even if it's a bad plan, it's better than no plan. Try to have a plan. So then that also comes to comms. Another thing that happens with a lot of teams, especially new ones, is they don't talk, or they say things that are not helpful to the team. No one needs to know that the DPS character just shot a tank. That is not important information. They should not be saying it. Instead, your tank should be saying where you're going to go. Your healer should be saying like your Ana should be saying reloading, like so that they don't go into danger when they can't be healed. Learning to talk as a team just takes time. And so preaching to your team, like, just talk to each other, say what's going on, say what your plan is, especially your tanks who are kind of maneuvering them through the map. Talk, say what's on your mind. All right, we're going to go up here, we're going to go left, then I need our Lucio to hit speed, and we're going to go fast up to the high ground. Just practicing saying those things out loud, because not everybody's on the same page. Comms. That's the biggest thing. Once you're able to do that, you can get the replay codes. It's pretty simple inside Overwatch to get replay codes, and then you can watch them like a movie from any perspective and go back in, and you'd be shocked at how much the recollection that your players have. They swore they did something, and then you go back and watch, and you're like, turns out we did the opposite. But that's okay. That's what VODs are there for, to try to figure out like what went wrong. And especially if you see a really interesting strategy, then you can watch it from their team and be like, can we do that? What did they do well? And then just say, can we copy it? And then you go into your next practice and you try to copy it and you figure out what the challenges of that new strategy are. So those are some things to work on. Yeah, video on demand. Sorry. So that's some things for practices, just getting them to play and going over VOD reviews.
I think we had a question that kind of matches the slide, so I want to go ahead and ask it.
Yeah.
Since you're talking about practices, somebody asked, how often would you recommend using Kovacs? I don't know if I said that right. Kovacs aim trainer during your warm up or cool down?
Aim trainer is fine, like especially when you're getting warm. Like I personally don't use an aim trainer. They're like the mini games that you can play online, like the 4v4 and a nano. But the aim trainer is fine to do for like um the first 10 minutes before you get going. It is important to get warm. Their first match should not be like, if they have a match that day, they need to do something, even if it's going into training and running around. I recommend playing like a quick play match or getting in and playing some of the 4-on-4 mini games. Do something to kind of get the juices flowing. If they have a main character, like if Anna's their main character, go play Sleep and Eat. There's like these little mini training games inside Overwatch that will kind of get them into the rhythm. Definitely should not have the first game be like their competitive one. So yeah, so the aim trainer, just 10 minutes on it, or even less, just to kind of get going.
Thank you.
Great question though. In terms of match day, um, like this is more like broad because I haven't actually coached Overwatch, but this is just my experience. Definitely reach out to the other coach ahead of time. The coaches and PlayVS are always great, but it's helpful if you text them day before, let them know what's going on, reach out. You know, we have our 6 guys, you know, in case something happens right around match time, you want that direct line to the coach. Because in Overwatch, there can be, you get someone DC'd and you want to be able to reach out to that coach quickly. So if you can connect to them on Discord or get their phone number so that you're not struggling to do that when in the middle of the match. And you're having to pause because one of your student devices went down, which again does happen, or they DC, especially since we're in virtual learning. Some of my students have terrible internet, and it's just like the reality of what's going on. Yeah, follow the protocol, which has got like a good game day protocol, and then after matches, make sure that your student, you just tell them to give the good game. You know, it's just a lot of learning opportunities for making sure like good sportsmanship, and then do a debrief with your team to be like, win, lose, or draw. What did we do well? Talk about something they did well and something they look forward to improving on. Because again, there's no losing there. Is like we either learned or we won. So take a moment as a coach to, you know, applaud the maps that they won and be like, look, we're going to work on, we really got rocked on Anubis this week. We're going to go back and we're going to figure out a better strategy. And that's okay. And we like what they did. So we've got the VOD review. We can cover it. Don't ever leave your team with that kind of like, we just got rocked and nothing to grow off of. If anything, just pick out something, couple positive things and some stuff that you want to emulate. That's the best part about if I get rocked playing ladder and I watch somebody else do something, like I got to practice that. That's going to, I'm going to go immediately watch what happened instead of jumping right into another game. And so with your teams, kind of do the same thing. Just capture the, hey, this is where on Monday, we're going to work on this. We're going to go look at this map, figure out what happened and fix it. Yeah, you should, in terms of preparation, you should definitely know what kind of strats you want to run for each map. Or if your team is very novice, at least know what types of heroes your team is comfortable on so that they know kind of the flexibility of how much can we flex to adapt in this team. Like for instance, if you come up against an enemy Pharah or Echo that's like in the sky, you're going to need a hit scan. So you need to know in advance who plays hit scan characters. If you've never had that conversation with your team, it's really awkward in the middle of a match to be like, who can flex to this character that we've never talked about? So you need to kind of know your limitations on who can flex to what things and kind of what style you're at least trying to play or what hero comfort picks there are. I would never, I would hesitate to like put a team out there where you're not really sure who their best 2 characters they're really comfortable on. I would hate to be like, all right, go play Hammond. You've never really done that. He's kind of a weird character. I would hate to put that pressure on a student. So yeah, just in your preparation, know the comfort picks and talk it through with them. Like, okay, and if we see this, then we're going to try to adjust in this way. Have at least kind of a backup plan if you can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. I know we have a couple of questions in the chat or in the QA feature that I'll ask you here in a little bit, but it's my turn now. So I get to talk about enrolling for spring season. We didn't go over the dates in this chat earlier, but you have until February 26th to get your team registered and enrolled. It's very important that you enroll your team. If you miss that step, then you don't get to play. So this is like a little picture. It's a Fortnite. I didn't have a good picture for Overwatch. I apologize, but I'm going to hop in as a coach. And I know some of you all may be players watching this that are doing a player led, but I'm going to hop in as a coach. So when I get in my coach account, can you all see this? This is the dashboard. Is that right? Okay. Sometimes it doesn't switch properly. So when I log in as a Scholastic coach, I'm going to have a couple options. I can click the dashboard and see my overview. It will give me my Help Center link, which has a bunch of resources that you can go to, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And you can also invite players or coaches. For Youth League, you will hit Explore, and then it'll go here. Sorry, mine isn't loading right now, and I don't know why. There it goes. So then you can select your team that you're wanting, or your game that you're wanting to play. We have Fortnite Trios, Fortnite Solos, and Overwatch. So click Overwatch. Then you're going to pick which of the regions, and you get to pick as the team coach or the team captain which region works best for you and your team. In my team, I believe I clicked East region, so I can view league, and then I can hit create team. Since I've already created a team, I can see it on this left sidebar. I have play versus high school A team, and then you can see that I have a team started. To get players on your team, you're going to have to share your code with them, this lovely link here, and they're going to log in and use that to log in to be able to add to your roster. Once you have your roster created, you're going to hit this, it'll turn orange, and you can enroll your team. And then that just ensures that you are on our schedule to get on to playing in the Play versus League. So once your roster is full, that does not ensure that you are in our league. You have to hit enroll team. As a coach, I can go back and forth between my teams on my Scholastic side. So I have some Rocket League teams and a League of Legends team, or I can click. This is kind of like a quick area. For player led, you will be able to see all of your player led teams. So if you're doing Fortnite and Overwatch, which I don't think you have the time to do that, but if you are able to pull that off, or if you're just a team captain for multiple rosters, you can see them here. So you can be a team owner without being on the team. So that's one way to also help organize. And that's kind of how we assign our coaches. So when I signed up as a coach and switched to the youth league side of the product, then I can see I'm a team owner. So it's not labeled as coach. So that's basically it. It's pretty easy. You just have to get your players on and enroll. You'll have a schedule. We don't have them right now because we haven't scheduled them yet. So once the schedules are rolled out for preseason, you'll see one per team. And then as the blocks get scheduled, we do what's called a hybrid Swiss for Overwatch. We don't do that for Fortnite. It's just an open match that you can join. But for Overwatch, you'll have a specific team that you're scheduled against. And then you can see after preseason is ended and we start regular season, it'll be groups of 3. So you'll get to see 3 weeks at a time. And I think that's it for that part. I want to go over the Help Center really fast just so everyone knows where to find things if you have a question and you kind of want to go through it yourself. In this. We haven't split it off into all the youth league information. We do have a youth league tab here that you can click on. Sometimes it's a little slow for me. We haven't migrated our Overwatch content over there yet, so you'll have to go to coach resources, match day, and then here's your game day protocol. And what the game day protocol does, it just steps you through every little step you need to take to join a match, from knowing who's going to create that match and selecting the different types to telling you who's taking the screenshots at the end. This one isn't as integrated as some of our other titles, so you will have to add the results at the end as the home team if you're the home team. I'm not going to step through this because it's really long, but basically you'll have a home team and an away team. Home team will create the match, away team will join it, and then you'll follow the rounds like what Matt said. And I put that in the chat if you want to look over it. The other part is our rule book. Our rule book kind of just goes in detail of what we expect for the matches. It'll go over roster rules. This is from our high school when it was part of our scholastic leagues. So there'll be a little bit of a change with the youth league because we do allow player led. It just has not been updated officially yet on the rule book. And so it'll go through, and again, it kind of steps you through how to create the match. That's going to be the most important part for the team captain or the team owner, is to know how to create that match and be able to join matches. I highly recommend kind of looking through it, practicing it before, and that's where the scrimmaging comes in. I think that's it for our Overwatch specific information on our help center. If you're a coach that's doing something else, we have a lot of information in general. So again, you can get that from going to your dashboard, and then it'll have a link there. And so that's our help center. If you're a PlayVS coach, you are allowed to join our coach Discord. I highly recommend doing that as well, because then other coaches will be there for helping you. And that's more for like coaching specific questions versus our support team is there to help technical questions or league specific questions. Okay, so we have a couple questions. So Dante asks, I already have a full team set up. Will my students still be on the same team during sign up, or will they be put on random teams? Matt, do you want to try to address that?
I mean, that sounds like a sign up thing. They're going to be on the same team. If you follow what Melanie just said, that it's not like we're throwing them into like a community rec league that they're going to be on random teams. Like, that is the team that you are signing up. That will be your team.
Yeah, and we have a spot for starting rosters. When we see the starting roster, that's going to be who shows in like your mission control where you see the match information. If you have a substitute, you can swap them through on that. And a substitute is just a player that was part of your team but is not playing at that time. So you can switch them in and out. And then I also linked the game day protocol to kind of show you. So you can play as your like I named mine PlayVS High School Team A. So you can name it after your high school if you're doing a high school team. But if you're doing a player-led team, then you can name it after whatever you want. Just keep it G-rated, school appropriate. And that's what we ask for. And we have another question. How do you get added as a coach if you already have an account? That's a great question. So I'll go back to that slide. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think isn't that toggle on the left? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so when I log in, I initially see this part. You can toggle back and forth. So this would be me clicking over into the Scholastic side. But if you want to create that youth league side, you have to click Explore on the top. And then you'll scroll down and you can click Overwatch. And then you go through the steps of that. I don't know, honestly, and Aaron, I don't know if you know this either, and we can get back to you, Amber, if you have this trouble, is if the team's already created, I don't know how to go back. Like if a player creates it, I'm not sure how to add you as the team owner. So I highly recommend the coach create the team and invite the players and not try to do it the opposite. Great question. Okay, Amber, I'll try to find a specific answer for you. I have your email, so I'll follow up individually with you to see if we can get that fixed. Any other questions that you have about Overwatch or PlayVS, youth leagues? We've got a few more minutes before we sign out. Matt did a very thorough job. Thank you, Matt. We appreciate you going through that. So just a few fun events. I'm just going to talk through these. And again, feel free to throw out questions. Coach chat tomorrow. We have a coach chat. And it is going to go over, it's kind of like a big overview of all of our scholastic titles, kind of going through some important rules and regulations that you need for understanding how PlayVS works. So it's going to be very high level, but if you're new to games, new to PlayVS, I recommend learning about that, especially if you're a coach. And then Friday, we're having a Friday night community stream on our Twitch channel. We're going to be talking about Youth League and digital safety and just kind of being safe on the internet. And then we'll do next week, we'll have coach chat about Rocket League and we'll kind of go in that. So we have a question about what are we playing on? Can you be more specific? Are you asking like what, like is it a PC or console for Overwatch?
I'm guessing that's the question. And unfortunately, there's no crossplay for Overwatch. So, and this is a challenge. So it's going to be on PC in terms of for competitive. But I have some students that have the game on console. And while the mechanics are very different, you can still learn some of the like it. I get asked this question a lot. Like, is it a waste of time to play it on console? And the reality is like, no, you still can learn a lot of the game, but there will be a learning curve mechanically figuring out like how to play. And like I started on Xbox and then the moved over to PC, it took me like a month to get my rank kind of like where it was on Xbox. And still like my mechanics, I think are slightly better on Xbox. It's just different and the gameplay is a little bit different, but overall the game's kind of the same. But yeah, we're playing on PC.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? That was a great question. Thank you. Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. We can stay on for a couple more minutes if you have any questions that pop up. We are planning some community game nights around Overwatch, so hopefully you can see Matt play and maybe someday me, but I don't even have it downloaded, but I would love to learn it.
Peer pressure. Tell Melanie to buy Overwatch and we need to get her into a community pub. If she gets it, I will find the other players. We'll invite some of you all. We'll get 12. We'll have some fun. So I want peer pressure in the chat right now. Put a +1. Tell her to pick it up.
Nothing. Nobody in the chat is responding.
I just got hung out to dry. I took a big leap there, everybody. I took a big leap.
Okay, well, I guess we will. Thank you.
There it is.
I guess we will
Dante's
end.
got my back.
There you go. Feel free to ask any questions. We'll end it for now. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm going to stop recording, but I will be here for a few minutes.